Killers without names. Sounds pretty intense, right? But what if I told you we're not talking about some spy movie? We're talking about something happening inside you, right now. Today, we're going to dive into this incredible, invisible world, a silent, microscopic battleground where these nameless guardians are deciding your fate.
So, let's try a little thought experiment together. Imagine your body isn't just, a bunch of organs and bones. Picture it as this quiet, always-on-alert little town. Every single part of you, every vein and capillary is like a street just bustling with life. But, just like any town, it's got its dangers, and it definitely needs protectors.
And the protectors of this town, well, they're not what you'd expect. In our story, they're three warrior sisters. They're the true guardians here. They don't have armor or swords you can see. No, but believe me, their weapons are way sharper, way more precise than any blade. So are you ready to meet them?
All right, let's start with the first sister. We call her the natural killer cell, or, NK cell for short. She is the absolute front line, the first one on the scene.
So if our body is a town, the NK cell, she's the night patrol. Picture her walking the dark alleys of your bloodstream totally silent, always watchful. And the interesting thing is, she's not looking for a specific bad guy she's been warned about. Nope, she's just looking for anything that seems off, anything that just doesn't belong.
And her process, it is brutally efficient. So step 1, she spots something suspicious, a shadow. Maybe it's a cell that's gone rogue and turned cancerous, or one that's been hijacked by a virus. Step 2, she doesn't call for backup, she doesn't wait for orders, she attacks immediately. And step 3, she unleashes these chemical projectiles that just obliterate the enemy on the spot. Seriously, bam, job done.
So what are these chemical bullets she's firing? Well, science actually has names for them, perforin and granzymes, and it's pretty cool how it works. Perforin, like the name suggests, perforates the enemy cell. It literally punches holes right through its outer wall. Then the granzymes rush in through those holes and basically hit the self-destruct button inside the cell. It's an incredibly clean, super swift, and a totally lethal takedown.
Okay, so having a patrol is great, right? But a really good defense, it's not just about brute force. You need intelligence. You need a strategy. And that's where the second sister comes in, the dendritic cell.
So, if the NK cell is our night patrol, the dendritic cell is the architect of the whole defense. She's the intelligence officer, the master strategist. Her job is to learn from every single skirmish to prepare the entire town for the next big battle.
So how does she do it? This is the crucial part. Picture this. After an NK cell takes out a bad guy, the dendritic cell shows up to the crime scene. She soaks up little pieces of the defeated enemy. Think of them like clues. Then, she takes those clues and travels to the town's command center to meet the T cells, who are kind of like the police lieutenants in this town. And she presents the evidence. She's basically saying, hey, look at this. This is what the enemy looks like. You need to memorize this face.
And that little piece of evidence, that fragment of the enemy, well, in biology, it has a name. It's called an antigen. And that antigen is everything. It's the unique identifier, like a fingerprint or a mugshot, that allows the rest of the immune army to recognize that invader instantly the next time it dares to show its face.
And this just shows you how incredibly important she is. I mean, think about it. Without these dendritic cells doing their detective work, the T cells, who are the real heavy hitters of the immune system, they'd have no idea who to fight. The army would be totally blind, just swinging in the dark, hoping to hit something. It would be chaos.
So we have our patrol, and we have our strategist. Great, but how do they talk to each other? How does the rest of the town know what's going on? When to go on high alert, or when it's safe to stand down? Well, that brings us to our third and final sister, the cytokines.
Now, what's fascinating here is that cytokines aren't actually cells like the others. You can think of them as the voices of the body. They're the messages, the urgent signals and emergency broadcasts zipping through your blood, connecting every single defender into one single unified network.
And these messages, they are so direct. One cytokine might basically scream, "War!" which kicks off an all-out attack. Another one might just whisper, "Peace," telling the army, "Okay guys, stand down, the threat is gone." They can shout for reinforcements or send out a warning, "Virus nearby." They can even issue a direct command like, "Grows, soldiers," telling all the immune cells it's time to multiply.
And this isn't just me being poetic. These messages are real, and they have scientific names.
For instance, a cytokine called interferon alpha, that is literally the system-wide alarm bell for viruses. Or interleukin-2, IL-2 for short, that's the real-life commander's order for immune cells to multiply and build up the army. It's amazing.
But here's the catch. This whole communication network is built on a really delicate balance. The right signal at the right time, that's a perfect coordinated defense. But what happens if there are too many signals, too many voices all shouting war at the same time? Well, that's when you get chaos. And that chaos is what we feel as fever or chronic inflammation. In really severe cases, it can cause something called a cytokine storm, where the immune system's own response actually becomes more dangerous than the thing it was fighting in the first place.
Okay, so now we've met all three sisters. We have the patrol, the architect, and the messenger. And look, on their own, each one is incredibly powerful. But when they work together, well, they're pretty much an unbeatable trio. So let's just break it down one more time. You've got the NK cell, our patrol, and her weapon is a direct attack. Then there's the dendritic cell, the architect, and her weapon is intelligence. And finally, you have the cytokines, the messengers, and their weapon is communication itself. See how it works? Each role is totally unique, but they are all completely dependent on each other to get the job done. So the big question is, how does this trio decide our fate? Well, it's all about that balance we talked about. If just one sister goes silent, the whole town can just freeze up when danger strikes. But if they all start shouting at once, the town can literally burn itself down. It's their perfect, coordinated dance, and that dance is what determines whether we get sick or whether we win the fight. And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. These guardians, they're not heroes in capes from a comic book. They are the quiet, invisible shadows flowing through your blood as we speak. And with every single move they make, they're casting a vote for your tomorrow, for your health, every second of every single day. Pretty incredible, right?